Okay, Bismillah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody. Today I would like to tell you about zakat. So these are the comprehensive guide to understand zakat. Zakat also applies in philanthropy, justice, and finance. Now what we're gonna discuss about zakat, we will first talk about the overview of zakat in Islam, the linguistic and legal definition, legal ruling of zakat, consequence of withholding zakat, spiritual and social virtues, general condition for eligibility, provision for zakat on wealth, provision for zakat al-fitr, and 8 categories of recipients. So, the overview of zakat in Islam itself. So, zakat is mandatory spiritual and financial obligation to ensure social justice and wealth redistribution within the community. It is also the third pillar of Islam, and with zakat you can 100% purify your wealth, and it is at fifth place of global impact. Now, linguistic and legal definitions. Linguistically, zakat represents the essence of purification and the blessing of growth in one's wealth. So technically, the transfer of ownership of specific wealth to designated to specific people. The requires of minimum threshold is for 2026 at least is 33,996 real. The whole is the wealth must be held for a full lunar year to qualify for zakat obligation. Legally, zakat is a compulsory religious duty for every eligible Muslim. These are firmly established by the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet, serving as a core of the faith. Failure to acknowledge its obligation is considered a serious matter of faith. Official bodies continue to set specific amounts to underscore this divinity. Now, the consequence of withholding zakat is you could bring severe spiritual. Withholding zakat brings severe spiritual warnings and inevitable loss of divine blessing in one's property. It is hoarded wealth transformed into a source of punishment on the day of judgment for those who refusing to pay. Now, spiritual and social filters. Zakat acts as a spiritual purifier and a social glue. It transforms individual greed into collective prosperity, ensuring that wealth circulates to support the entire community structure. It is also as a social bridge to connect the rich and poor, to fostering genuine brotherhood. And it is 100% defining barakah, brings blessing and growth to the remaining wealth. Now, the eligibility condition, you must, or an individual must be a Muslim and free, which means he is not a slave. He is absolute, he has absolute ownership and growth potential of wealth are fundamental requirements. First, the person must be Muslim and free. Full and absolute of ownership of wealth is strictly required for zakat obligation. And the growth and the hisab, the wealth must be productive or have growth potential. And the total amount must exceed the minimum requirement of nisab. Now, zakat is also at a Idul Fitri, which is zakat mal. Now, zakat mal is obligation covers various types of assets, including gold, silver, currency, and business commodities to ensure social equity. The standard rate is 2.5% of the total qualifying wealth by the individual. The whole period is calculated once on the whole or 1 year lunar period is completed for the assets. Now, zakat is also at al-fitr. The timing and the purpose is a charity that is paid at Ramadan's end, required before the Eid al-Fitr prayers begin. That's the prayer deadline. And the amount and goal is one serve a staple food per member or 25 dirhams to ensure the poor can celebrate the festival. So eh, at it filter, there's no one is starving. Now the eight categories of recipients, which is the one that accepts the money or the wealth, which is the primary supports. There's there's the al fuqara, which is the poor with no wealth, and al masakin, the needy without basic means, al aminina, which is the zakat administrator, and al mu'allafah, has to be reconciled. There's also welfare and rights to the recop, which is freeing those in bondage, al ghorimin, who is burdened by debt, and fisabilillah for community benefit, and ibnu sabil, which is the stranded travelers. Okay, so I guess that's all for me. So if I have a lot of mistake during recording of this video, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.